We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
With global pals, it's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita.
And Ellen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast Backstage episode. Happy 2022, everybody. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And hi there, I'm Benita Zahn. Yeah, this is our first one of the new year.
Yeah, thanks for your patience, everybody. We took a little holiday hiatus.
Yeah, we were entitled, but we've got some really good shows in the queue, so stick around. In fact, these at least are going to happen,
Yeah.
Broadway. Oh my word, what a mess right now. So many shows are closing, going on hiatus for a while. It's quite a challenge.
It's interesting to see the different tactics too, because some unfortunately have just shut their doors for good because they couldn't keep up with all the cancellations. But some, like Mrs. Doubtfire, have said, you know what, we're just going to stop until March. We'll see you guys in March.
As of our taping right now, To Kill a Mockingbird is going to go dark until June 1st.
Yeah.
So a big break. And you think about the dollars and cents, but it's the dollars and cents for the performers, the real people. And then what do you do? Quite a challenge right now.
It's really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
then you wonder about, the tours that are still booked to come through.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were talking about hopefully having a guest come in and talk about all the swing situation, because there's been productions with entire stand-ins, coming in and, huge leads being filled in with people that weren't even part of the cast, were, in the show years ago, and they pulled them in to do a show.
It's crazy. And there's going to be Swing Day, which is, let's see, we are recording this on the, I gotta stop and think.
12th.
The 12th. So it will be on the 19th.
Very
is
cool.
Swing Day. And listen, it was after Hugh Jackman gave that big shout out to the swing performers. It's just changed the game, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. And they deserve that recognition. I mean, even without this current situation, I don't know how anyone is a swing.
No.
It's so hard.
You're keeping how many roles in your head?
And you get zero rehearsal time. You just get thrown on stage.
And sometimes it's like, okay, Ellen, listen, I know it's noon, but the 2 p.m. matinee.
Mm-hmm.
I would need, I don't know, Xanax. Right?
Definitely.
Good grief. So it's a real challenge. And, we can talk about this with folks who are listeners, is there something you plan to see that you can't now?
Right.
I'll give a tip of the hat, I always will, to Park Stage Company. They've got Bright Star coming up.
Yeah.
And 2 of the performances, in Performance Week, they're going to do with limited audience. So that if you're uncomfortable, there'll be, more space in seating, fewer people in the house. It's always masked anyway.
Yeah.
But they're making accommodations for those who are just feeling a little antsy right now about going into an audience.
That's a fantastic idea. Yeah. Yeah. And and we'll see. Time will tell. I know, I'm on the board of 2 theater companies, and, it's a lot of discussion of, can our, February, March, April shows move forward? Because unfortunately, we've seen locally, at least in January, shows that have been postponed for
Marjorie Prime
at Schenectady Civic, unfortunately. Right. I saw, unfortunately, Admissions that Patrick White is directing at Sand Lake. Their performances this weekend, and unfortunately, were canceled, but hopefully they'll make it up later.
Yeah.
It's a rough time, but we'll see what the Omicron is. This just a big wave because of the holidays and everything that will slow die down, and hopefully we can go back to the safety protocols that were working for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Big fingers crossed on all of this. I skied today. You know, in my
Yeah.
new life, I've got Wednesdays, I can ski with the girls. It's something I've always wanted to do, not working full time. And you've got to be masked. You know,
Yeah.
we're up at Gore and you have to be masked to get on the lift. And then what
Mhm.
happens? You just leave the mask on and you're masked inside. They've got masks there. You know, if you walked in and you forgot yours or it just got too wet and cold. So even the ultimate, if you will, of outdoor activities, we're masking.
Yeah.
So now you bring it indoors to theater.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and the theaters are all being very creative. We were in to see a couple of weeks ago, we may have talked about this here. We were in to see the Lehman trilogy, and out in line, they hire people now. And you may see the ad for it. I think on Backstage, they're looking for actors who aren't working, and they go through the line and they look at your ID and your vaccination, and then they stamp you.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I've been seeing a lot of people recently, a lot of theaters have now said it's not enough to be vaxxed twice and wearing a mask. You also have to be boosted to get in.
Sign of the times, kids, sign of the times.
Yep.
You know, and when you look at the numbers of people who are in critical condition in the hospitals and the numbers, it's the vast majority are the folks who are not vaccinated.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was sharing with you before we started recording. Unfortunately, my family got hit with COVID over the holidays, and luckily everyone except my daughter, who was too young to be vaccinated, was fully vaccinated, and the adults were boosted. And the worst we had was some sore throats and a fever. So, we
yeah,
got through it. But yeah, I
yeah,
don't want to think about what it would have been like had someone
no.
not been vaccinated.
So we've just done our political commentary
Yes.
for the day. And look, we want the theaters to be open. First of all, we want people to be healthy. And
Yes.
we want theaters to be open. You want the creativity to continue. You
Mhm.
want the salaries to be paid,
Yeah,
So, and the health insurance, which
definitely.
sort of in a roundabout way, we have a really fun show today. I mean, okay, fun. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you and I look at the world a little weirdly, Ellen, but we were talking bloopers. And
Yes.
some of these I was roaring as I was reading them. Were you?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, when you think of some of the things that people have gone through, Lord, have you ever had anything as wild as some of the ones we read?
Yeah, yeah. My two I always share. One was getting a concussion on stage, and everything went dark, but luckily I made it through to intermission and was able to relax and get back on. But my worst one, the one I consider is I was doing Wait Until Dark. I was playing Susie, who's a blind character, and she's being, these con men are trying to play, trick
Right.
her. And at one point, she decides that she thinks that the telephone booth outside is where people are calling her house. So she set up the signaling system of if the phone rings, it means that someone's in the telephone booth. And that's how she knows these guys are con men and blah, blah, blah. It's a big part of the plot. So I was doing a scene with this guy, and he has a line, and he's supposed to start to exit, and then the phone rings and it stops him from exiting, and the plot moves forward now that she knows the information she needs and so forth. So we get to that point in the play, phone does not ring. So what does my fellow actor do? He just exits because that's what his character is in the middle of doing. So he leaves the stage, leaving me alone on stage.
Right?
And my character's blind, and I'm like, what can I do right now? And I was like, I can't look out the window to see if someone's in the telephone booth.
Right.
What do I do? I just meandered around the stage. I think I started cleaning dishes because I was like, someone's eventually
Ellen.
gonna hit
Right.
that phone.
Yeah.
And it went on for so long. So finally, I just got up and left the stage. Because I couldn't think of anything else to do. And then sure enough, then the phone rang. I came running on. The other actor came running on. Oh, I forgot to say something.
That's great. I mean, it's not, but it's great.
Yeah. And when I got off stage, the other actor who, knew that he wasn't supposed to leave was just pressed up against the set going, I don't know. He didn't know how to save it. I didn't know how to save it.
Oh no, I thought you were going to say he went bring.
Oh. I almost would have preferred that.
Yeah. And it probably was barely a minute, but it felt like 3 weeks, right?
Felt so long. Yeah.
Ah,
Because your brain just starts going, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
It's like, what can I improv? And then you're like, no one to work off of. So it's like,
yeah, nothing. And you can't see.
I can't see. Oh boy, that was a rough one. And apparently that was it was all on the director. The director was up in the tech booth and the stage manager was about to hit the button and he's like, no, this isn't the right cue. So it was his fault. And the stage manager let me know that after the show.
To the moon. We just did Cabaret down with the two of us productions. And as I go to walk out on stage, it's a button down dress. I don't know what happens. I turn and I catch my dress on the doorknob. And as I walk out on stage, I realize I'm open.
No.
Yeah. So I'm walking out trying desperately to close. And I get like enough of them quickly done, and I turn up stage. So I should be walking straight across to the audience, but I do a little quick turn and I'm like, just cover it up, girl. And I think I'm okay. And I'm sitting down and I'm getting ready to do her first song. And I look down and I realize I still have 3 open buttons. So, I went up on a lyric, like, 3 or 4 words, Cabaret is not a porno show.
No, I was gonna say, did you have time period appropriate underwear under your dress?
No, I didn't. That's the worst. I should have had a full slip on. It would have. No. Needless to say, I pinned that dress after that.
That's a good idea.
I come off stage and go, "You're never gonna believe this. My dress is."
Oh my goodness.
The things that happen in the moment that people have no idea.
They have
right?
no idea. Yeah.
Lots of times acting is having 3 plates going and then you got to juggle, right?
Yeah. I was going to say one that, the audience certainly probably wouldn't know that it became a running gag in the show. The director had to stop us from doing it. I had to fill in for someone who is sick in a Klingon Christmas Carol, which is a show done completely in Klingon. And there were monitors the actors could see in case you went up on a line, because you can't improv in Klingon. You would look at the monitor and, but I had memorized my lines. I didn't have a big part. I never used the monitors. So I had memorized that day. This part I had to fill in for is very small. I went on stage and just with being the first time on stage doing it, completely blanked, looked at the monitor. I mean, it might as well have been in, ancient Hebrew or something, because I was like, I have no idea what that says. So I just tried to think of like a Klingon sounding word, and I ended up saying Chipotle. And so for the rest of the run, people would just throw in the word Chipotle
anywhere. That's great. I mean, with all due respect, nobody knows Klingon.
Right. I mean, there were some people in the audience that were fluent and they tried to talk to us afterwards. We're like, no, we don't. We know our lines and that's about it.
That's all I got to say. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you just schooled me. Yeah, so that brings us to our first, comment, and it comes from Evan. He said, I once called my scene partner my character's name in Clybourne Park. It was in the middle of a heated exchange, so it slipped by mostly unnoticed. I've heard that happen, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Or calling the person by like their actual name as opposed to the character's name.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah.
happens.
It happens. Alex says, I once saw my scene partner run off stage for the bathroom right before my entrance for our scene. I entered in shock and basically just vamped and improvised until he came back. It was terrifying.
I can't even imagine. Jessica says, I was in the chorus in Antigone, and an actor playing one of the casualties in the play was laying in front of us, and we were weeping over his tragic death. when he let out a huge fart. Luckily, crying and laughing can look similar, but we all totally lost it. And then, of course, they called him a gas bag. So,
Oh, of course, of course. Michael says, playing Hysterium, and a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, wearing a white dress disguised as Philia during the big chase late in the show. I pierced my right palm on an errant wood screw on set, deep. The bleeding was immediate, so I played the remainder of the scene, pressing my ring finger hard into the cut to stem the flow and hopefully spare the costume. But on the funnier side, playing Lenny in Rumors, my character had to make the old one-sided telephone call. During one performance, I was almost completely through the call before I noticed the handset cord had come unplugged from the phone on the table. No clue when in the proceedings it occurred. I finished the call and pulled an extremely fast audience take, holding the dangling phone cord, saying, "Oh, look, it's cordless," and sprinted right back to the scene as scripted. I figured the fourth wall break earned me just enough goodwill with the audience that they forgave and stopped focusing on the cord.
which makes me wonder, do you think they even noticed?
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? As an actor, you got to take that split-second decision of, is this something I need to address, or can I keep going?
And I want to go back to Michael's comment, pierces his hand and he doesn't scream. Oh, dude, you get, points for me.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I mean, farting would have been the least of the problems. Nora says, having my nose inadvertently broken by another actor during a performance of As You Like It. Well, that was probably my biggest blooper, but I'm proud to say, with help, I finished the show. Go, Nora.
Yeah, just a broken nose. No big whoop.
Yeah.
Ryan said, my most recent one, when I was doing Fully Committed, we had a wall phone. And one night I accidentally ripped it off the wall and had to spend 3 minutes trying to put it back up. And I was also doing Dr. Fritz by David Ives down in Woodstock, and I was wigged for the part. And at one point, I had to do a monologue/rant as an insane person. And one night, the wig fell off in the middle of my rant right into my scene partner. So after a few seconds of staring at each other, trying not to laugh, I picked up the wig, put it on my hand, and finished the monologue with a hand puppet.
I love that. That's so Ryan.
It is very Ryan.
Okay. Christina says, I went to see Good People at PAW, which is...
I'm not familiar with PAW.
No. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
I meant to. But anyway, and during the show, one of the flats serving as a wall fell down off the stage and onto the audience. We saw it coming. No one was hurt, but the actress, Laura Lee, being the consummate professional, didn't miss a beat. And while in character, commented something along the lines of, talk about bringing down the house. It was brilliant and filled the awkward moment perfectly.
Being an audience member there. Ooh, here comes the wall.
Right? And the walls came tumbling down. I mean, whoo.
Let's see. Steve says, I forgot Buzz Adams' name in South Pacific, so I just called him Pilot Guy.
I love it. And Patrick says, getting dressed on stage for my wedding in prelude to a kiss and forgetting to zip my pants. Spending the first 20 minutes of my marriage with my fly undone.
And that's one that's like, did people notice? No, maybe. Kyle says, not the biggest mishap I've experienced, but we saw Tina on Broadway last week. And during a fight scene, Ike Turner pulled the understudy Tina's wig so hard during a fight that she couldn't get it back on. She spent the next few minutes on her knees trying to pull and twist it back to a place that felt right, but eventually gave up and just took it off. Luckily, she had a wig change before her next entrance anyway.
Oh, now I know why Kyle wasn't Gaga for that show. Sounds like there were some problems. We chatted. Scotty says the set fell down all around me when I slammed a door. I was left standing in a door frame.
It's like the play that goes wrong, but real.
Exactly.
John says, I saw a production of Agatha Christie's The Hollow many years ago. The actor playing the victim is shot, falls on the floor, looks up, and is supposed to give the dying message, Henrietta, Henrietta. On the night I saw it, he gave the dying message, Veronica, Veronica, who was another character in the play. The audience, who had never seen the play before, didn't notice anything was wrong until the characters began telling the police the dead man's last words were Henrietta, Henrietta, and the audience began wondering why everyone was lying. It was not until much later that I heard the final punchline. The next night, the actor came out, was shot, fell to the floor, looked up, and saw on the ceiling a piece of cardboard left by the director at such an angle that only the actor could see it, and on it the words, Henrietta, Henrietta.
You know, I don't know if you want to applaud the director or you just wanted to, right?
Yeah, that one kind of takes me back to high school. I did the Mousetrap when I was in high school. And there was a moment where, you know, I had like 2 lines in the scene. And it's when the inspector comes in and tells the whole plot of, you know, the murder. And they left the stage and was like, I never said my lines. What happened? And quickly realized we had skipped about 3 full pages of text. That was the entire plot. And then continued with lines that referred back to the 3 pages we had skipped. So someone just shoved the inspector and some random character on to improvise all the information.
Wow. That's the worst, isn't it? When you realize either you or someone jumped.
Yeah.
And how do you get back?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Katie says, I tripped stepping off a platform of Mice and Men at Albany Civic and fell literally flat on my face.
Oh, Katie.
Okay, right.
Philip says, years ago, I was playing Henry Higgins in a dinner theater production of My Fair Lady. One night, unbeknownst to me, the producers allowed their teenage son to operate the board. In the last scene, as you know, in the middle of I've grown accustomed to her face, Higgins turns on the wire recorder and hears Eliza's voice. I touched the recorder, nothing. I touched it again, nothing. And again, finally, I began to walk away. Then, of course, her voice boomed from the speakers. I managed not to lose my temper until I hit the dressing room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, come on. You know what? That's not a place to put your kids.
No.
Janet says, so many. Having my toes broken during a performance, actor slip and fall, the rest of us not able to maintain composure, a scene in an Egyptian tomb where the set movement didn't work. And I had to say, well, Harry, these are ancient mechanisms. The audience roared. Oh, a fire during another performance. It was a hot time, huh?
Oh,
so
man.
many, Janet.
Kathleen says, doing a production of Ekborn's, is it Ekborn or Aikborn?
I always say Ackborn.
Ekborn.
If we're wrong, somebody will correct us.
Yes, please tell us. Doing a production of Ackborn's How the Other Half Loves at the theater barn, my very proper British housewife was supposed to put a cigarette in her cig holder whilst having a conversation with her husband. Unbeknownst to me, said cig had fallen off the coffee table and rolled under the couch. During dialogue, I felt under the table and couch for said cig, then looked under the table and near the couch, and finally, in a fitted cocktail dress and heels, got on my hands and knees and felt under the couch until I found the cigarette. During that performance, the barn was videotaping for their archives. After which my stage husband said something along the effects of, I looked over at one point and wondered why you were on the floor and I was looking at your ass.
You know, so how long do you look for a prop unless it is germane to a line or moving the plot forward?
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, and Kathleen is an incredibly talented performer, so we're gonna have to ask her.
Mm-hmm.
Erin says, the first show I did with Ellen, the actor playing Tybalt in the scene from Romeo and Juliet called Romeo Mario.
We laughed about that for years to come, and because it really came out like Mario.
Right? I mean, you know, that name thing, but that's a little different.
Yeah.
Mario, wherefore art thou, Mario?
Let's see. Laura said, I once left my fellow actor sweating on stage due to a rather long dramatic pause on my part due to a scene cue that may or may not have been missed on my part.
And Ryan says, the very first show I ever wrote and had produced locally was called Tapestry, A Knight's Quest. Everyone who actually fought for any amount of time was using wooden swords. They were beautifully designed, may even have fooled the audience from afar. They also could take a beating, but they were brought in roughly a full month before the show. So take a beating they had. We're in the second to last show, packed crowd, a few local theater bigwigs in the audience when we hear crack. We peer out on stage and there is Ironside preparing to defeat Gareth with a hilt in his hand and roughly a quarter of a foot worth of blade. The wood had completely snapped apart. Poor Ironside. The actor holds up the hilt and its pitiful touch of a blade and asks, "Any last words before I shove my sword through your chest?" Gareth gives his line, "Not particularly." The audience goes nuts. And then Gareth brings his A game. He dives for his sword. He disarms Ironside as he's supposed to, and he gives the line, "Now any last words before I shove my sword?" and cheats to the audience, "Shove my sword, cheat the whole thing through your chest." And the audience laughter beats the laughter from 30 seconds earlier. That's great.
You know, some of these just work so well. That story really reminds me, again, I'm going back to Klingon Christmas Carol. We had a Klingon fight with these weapons called bat lifts, right? They're really cool. It was fun fight choreography. But again, they were made of wood, made to look like metal. But we had used them so much in practice that one night someone was supposed to like use his fist to knock it out of someone's hand. And he's this huge guy. He knocked it and the thing just split clean in two.
Oh,
And there was just this, everyone was just right on board and everybody was just like, yeah, because it looked awesome that he like just destroyed this weapon with his fist.
I think I put most of that stuff like out of mind. It's like pain. You can't remember it,
Yeah,
but they're so much fun, really.
they are. And,
Afterwards.
And it's interesting. I feel like most of our comments here were from comedies where you can kind of pull it off better. You can kind of break the fourth wall and make a joke about it. It's not so funny when it's in a serious show.
No. But that's live theater. I love when people say, "Oh, you really did you do this every night?" Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Every night and twice on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which makes me think about the worst meals you've ever been fed. There was a lovely woman who didn't talk to me for a very long time afterwards because I objected to. It was at Albany Civic, and we were doing. Oh, I can't believe I'm going to. This is maybe worth discussing. We were doing. Oh, come on, Private Lives. I was Amanda and John, come on. Oh, he'll hate me. Was doing Elliot. And it's a very physical show.
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, we've got macaroni and cheese for dinner, for the break." Yeah, you can see that. I'm going, and right away I was a guest. I'm like, "No, not macaroni and cheese. You can't eat that." And she was really a dear woman, and she was, I think we had cold cuts. John Allen. She eventually talked to me, but it was in that moment, and I was probably channeling Amanda.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing you were ever fed or proposed to have been fed on the 2 a day?
I don't remember anything horrendous. I'm such a picky eater. A lot of times it was like there was nothing I could eat because it was because I don't eat like red meat. I don't eat pork. So sometimes it's like there wasn't a good veggie option. Yeah. But I have had some interesting things on stage that I've had to eat. When I was doing 39 steps, I was supposed to have milk. And during tech, they didn't warn us. Just all of a sudden they had milk. We had never had it before. And so it's in this jar. And I'm like, is this milk or is this something else? I don't know what I'm about to put in my mouth. And it was just very humorous to me and the fellow actor because we were like, we don't know what this is right now.
We did Crimes of the Heart a number of years ago at Albany Civic. and the cake at the end, it's Lenny's birthday. Well, they had one cake.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, that cake was ripe.
Yeah.
I mean, crunchy. And it was red food coloring to write on. And I don't know, that may be the most vile of all food colorings to. Well, let's have that conversation. What have you had to eat on stage that surprised you, repulsed you?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you feel about eating on stage?
Yeah. I like it. Fun time. This is, this question though about the bloopers. This is my favorite question, like during tech week when everybody's kind of tired and everybody's like sitting in the green room, during a break, just to throw this one out there because I feel like it's an immediate pick me up,
Yeah. You know how life has changed. I mean, I've got a few years on you, and they used to smoke in the green room.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I can remember it was the end of smoking.
Yeah.
As it was. But yeah, actors would grab a smoke.
Wow. I can't imagine being a fellow actor and having
No,
smoke in my face while I'm just sitting
no,
there.
yeah. I can remember that. Oof.
Yeah. It's bad enough you got to tell people not to bring stinky food or perfume or all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
And that's me. I always ask, don't bring perfume because I'm so sensitive. And there's always somebody who gives you that, really, you can wear your Sierra when you go home, but please, or your Axe, I can't. I can't be. I once had to go, a girlfriend showed up to come see my show, to stay with us. And I had to go to the theater like 2 hours early, just.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, let's talk about food.
Yeah, I like it.
Good.
Oh, I'm always down to talk about food. I was like, because I also do Crimes of the Heart, and I looked forward to our cake. I think they did get a new one between weekends.
Who did you play?
I was Lenny.
I would have made Book. Yeah. And I was Cheap Christmas Trash.
Yes.
I ate all the candy.
Well, so I would we were supposed to eat, because it's right at the the end of the show, the cake comes out, they're cutting it and they start to eat and the lights go out. So I would, cut my slice, I would go do my curtain bow, and then on my way off the stage, I would grab my cake and I would eat it because I'm a big cake fan.
I love it. Yeah, we had to save it for the run. Why can't I think you and Lenny? Yeah, I figured you would play Lenny. How perfectly cast. Why can't I think of my characters and see me in names? Meg, right?
Meg, right.
But Cheap Christmas Trash, I remember.
That's a
what do you have? Wings on your tongue? Just flew off. Anyway, this is fun. We got the new year off and running.
Absolutely. Yes. So, we'll talk about food next time. And if anybody has any other things that you want to share with us, send us an email, send us a Facebook message.
And we've got a lovely local performer who is just an incredible dynamo, who will be our guest in our next show. Singer, actor. You're going to love her if you haven't. If you don't already, you're going to.
Woohoo. All right, everybody. Well, this has been a super fun time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.